how much does it mean to you to be able to have finally told your story away from kind of just a bodybuilding specific focus?
You know what, I think it's an interesting thing. It's certainly I think it's an interesting thing. And I'm not quite sure if I've processed that as much as I would need to give a very honest answer. I think that, you know, we're still a work in process. And I think ultimately the ability to do it will talk about the progressive realization of more things that speak to the positive stuff that I still feel destined to do, you know? So yeah, I guess that's the best way I can answer something like that. I think we're still working, you know what I mean? Yeah. And it's not over. Yeah.
With us being in the second week of February, of course, a lot of people are beginning their journeys in the fitness world. So what would be your advice for someone joining the gym for the first time who's maybe looking to build muscle and build strength, but is at the very start of their journey?
To recognize that you can start that journey from right where you are. You know, it's not one of those things that start once you go to school and get your degree in nutrition. And it's not one of those things that will wait for you to go to school and get a degree in exercise science before you can now think that you can begin your journey. You start this thing right where you are. And the benefit to you is the fact that that is true, you know, so you don't have to hold yourself hostage to those ideas of the sins of the past. The fact that I didn't go to school for nutrition 2 years ago, and the fact that I don't have a degree in exercise science that takes me back that I would have needed to have thought about 7 years ago, does not have to be the thing that holds me hostage in the present tense. You can start this journey from right where you are, and the aim to be the success that you dream to be, and that you're willing to work for, is attainable in the now.
You're obviously a very articulate, intelligent, well-read guy. One of my questions was, what misconceptions do people have about bodybuilders? Do you think that people are surprised when they talk to you and you're you know, an articulate, intelligent, educated, well-read person? Do you think people just think that bodybuilders are going to be just, you know, these big brutes and nothing else?
Well, the biggest misconception here, I think a lot of times, is that it is not mental, you know, and to believe that it's a physical thing. And the truth is that is very far from the reality. The reality here, to be a bodybuilder, is to actually be a person that is saying, hey, look, I am going to masterfully develop myself, not through the use of my body, but technically through the use of my mind, because it's the mind that controls, you know, the hand that puts the food in your mouth or not. It's the mind that's controlling where you go and what you think about when you're working. If your work is effective toward the development of building tissue, cellular repair, following up with ample nutrition, or not. It's a mental thing more than it is a physical. In fact, it's the body that's leading. It's the body that's being led by the mind. So it is a mental pursuit more than it is physical at all. To believe the opposite is the largest misconception I think people have about that.
Are there any exercises you personally believe are completely overrated and you won't put in your program?
I'd say, honestly, the most overrated exercise, I think, is the bench press. Yeah, it's a bench press. And I'll tell you why. Because most times I've seen when people see you and meet you in the street, or you see you and they say, hey, well, wow, you work out. How much do you bench? You know, as if, you know, that is to be this thing that will identify just the largest demonstration of strength and the ability to excite and awe you, you know. And so I think like the idea of having this very big, impressive number to boast of. I bench very heavy. I move a lot of weight with my chest. I think is an overrated and I guess the most inappropriate way of being able to imagine asking someone, a bodybuilder, you know, to share with you that thing that becomes the brilliance that is to either entertain or dazzle you. So to answer your question, it's really not the size of my bench, but the size of my vision. You get what I'm saying? Yeah. I mean, it's the bigger than my bench press. My vision had to be very large, you know, to imagine ever to will myself, to put myself in the place and space to develop ultimately what becomes not only an impressive bench press, but more commonly a demonstrable feat of how I use my mind to overcome my circumstance. You get what I'm saying? So yeah, the bench press I would say is overrated.
Interesting, because I've heard similar from bodybuilders where they say that the bar path when it comes to a bench press inhibits the range of motion, whereas if you're using dumbbells, because it's a straight bar, of course, whereas if you're using dumbbells, the pec contraction can get a little deeper, and as a result, better growth that way. But interesting to hear your particular perspective on it as well. We're told that lifting with optimal form and technique is really important. Yet, if you look at the training styles of any top bodybuilder or any top strongman, sometimes they cheat with their form. So it's and no one's to say, and no one is going to tell those people, like such as yourself as well, that what you're doing is wrong. Do you think people overrate how important form is?
I think form is very, very important. I think a lot of times what happens though is a lot of times we're not as aware as to what is in the mind of the wielder, you know, of form. I think form is a tool, just like the weights in your hand, they're a tool. But more importantly, like I'm saying, is the mind at work and what are the intentions of that mind? You know what I mean? So if I were a fan or an enthusiast standing on the outside, witnessing an Arnold Schwarzenegger, let's say, you know, performing a T-bar row back in 1975, you know, and I could say his form, hey, that form kind of differs from the way I was told is the right way to do it. However, it's almost as I guess the same thing as saying, hey, Bruce Lee, you learned Kung Fu, right? But now you've come up with this abbreviated way to more masterfully get to the desired conclusion. You've kind of eliminated some of those extra steps because you're so familiar with the subject matter. You know, I think that what happens is the fan, the layperson, the enthusiast, even the critique that's just so far on the outside, so far removed from the actual mechanism of what's happening, you know, can be so far removed that they just don't understand, you know. And it's not until you climb into the trenches of that experience and actually get a chance to deal with the mind at work that you get a chance to see possibly how it is that, yeah, they learned the basics. They understand those fundamentals. In fact, and because they're so aware, a lot of times what they've done, like in the Bruce Lee example, they've been able to remove some of those extra steps that are thought of as being unnecessary because of their very keen connection and awareness that if the layperson, the enthusiast, the person on the outside, if they ever should aspire, you know, to learn that subject matter and that material as much as important as it was to the practitioner that we're watching or witnessing, we might walk away with the same conclusion, like, this is a better way to do it, or I understand why they're doing what they're doing the way they do it.
I want to ask you a couple of diet and nutrition questions because obviously we are here courtesy of your sponsor, Rain Body Fuel. Now, in terms of diet, do you follow a particular system like intermittent fasting, keto, paleo, anything like that?
I'm very conscious of the calories that I take in, particularly at what time in the day I do. So with saying that, you know, and also in interest in being able to promote one of the concepts of why rain is important, you know, 0 calories, you know, 0 sugar. And technically, yeah, man, that's important to me when I'm trying to be very conscious about how many calories I take and where I get those calories from, you know. Taking in an abundance of empty calories and sugar for me is a definite no-no, particularly when I'm trying to, you know, stay in great shape for filming, training, and even, you know, possible competition. So let me just say right off the bat that, yeah, man, I'm very conscious of the amount of calories that I take in. I'm probably staying somewhere around, you know, 3,000, 3.5. And that's important for me to be able to maintain right now. any spikes in that from places that I'm not quite sure of can prove to be something that I could see very, very quickly. And that's a detriment to, me being in shape as I need to for a lot of the things that I'm trying to do. So yeah, take it how you like it, but that's definitely what I'm offering with respect to that.
What's your favorite post-workout meal? Or if you could only live off one meal for the rest of your life, what would it be?
You know what? I'm a salmon man these days. Salmon and chicken. When I was younger, I used to do a lot of steak. I was a steak man, meat and potatoes. I've gotten away from the red meat at this stage of my life. And I feel very good about that. So it agrees with me a lot better. And those omega-3s are important, believe it or not, promoting, good health and basic life functions. So I think my go-to meal after training, would certainly be a salmon and some kind of complex carb with rice.
Yeah. Interesting. I know you were talking previously about kind of why you've taken kind of like red meat out of your diet, and I know Arnold there's been a growth in kind of vegan and plant-based diets with the Game Changers movie that Arnold has featured in as well. Have you ever experimented with vegan or plant-based meals? What's your take on that?
Well, you know what, I'd like to think in the last, I've now experienced my career and my training and my approach to being in control of my dieting and nutrition habits for now more years than I care to say. I think I stopped counting after 20 years. So certainly within that, I have tried a lot of approaches to finding effective ways to try to maintain those ideas in a way that feels best and more comfortable to me. We're saying that, yeah, I've tried a lot of different things. As far as being a vegetarian and things, I don't think that was a way that would have supported a lot of my earlier interests towards the development of my career and the things that were important to me nutritionally. At that time, would certainly have not been fit under. Certainly wouldn't have been met under that idea. So yeah, definitely not a vegetarian. I've tried a little bit of vegan. I've gotten a chance to explore some others. I am still a progressive work in process, and there will be many more things that I will try before I call it over. And I'm happy to have the opportunity. So yeah, I guess that's the best way to answer that.
I get that. Kai, I really appreciate the time that you've put away to chat to me today. I know, like I said, you're a really busy guy, but it's been very illuminating and interesting to chat to you for the first time. If you're in the UK late this year, it'd be great to kind of chat face to face as well, and maybe get a session in or something like that in the gym. That would be wicked to learn from the best. But
we'll put it out there. Definitely. I appreciate that. Thank you for the opportunity, brother.